Hey, greetings, everyone. Lieutenant Colonel Alan West here, and welcome to the Steadfast and Loyal podcast.
You gotta light 'em up before they burn it down. Better dig deep, put 'em in the ground. Blood on their hands, they're hellbound. Save us all. Ooh, they're gonna burn it down. Save us all before they burn it down.
Hey, greetings, everyone. Lieutenant Colonel Alan West here. Welcome back to the Steadfast and Loyal podcast. To me, it's a black eye upon our nation. 20 to 22 veterans on average taking their lives in these United States of America. The men and women who are sworn to make the last full measure of devotion, the ultimate sacrifice in protecting our way of life, our rights, our liberties, and our freedoms, who come back home and for whatever reason, they're met with an invisible enemy that sometimes they cannot overcome. So I want to continue to highlight organizations that are standing out there and doing the cutting edge things that are necessary to get our veterans to turn around and walk the razor's edge. Today, we're joined by members of the Gray Team. The Gray Team, Inc. was founded in 2016 by military veterans Kerry Reichbach, United States Army, and Logan Skees, United States Marine Corps. Both men had served in high risk, dangerous jobs and were well experienced with military service's toll on an individual's mental and physical health. Skees, in particular, had returned from Afghanistan and struggled greatly with adapting to civilian life. And after leaving the Marine Corps in 2013, he had lost his marriage, friends, community structure, and ultimately his purpose. He fell into deep depression, reckless behavior, violence, and suicidal tendencies. But after a chance meeting with Kerry Reichbach, the two bonded and began an uplifting journey. Since 2017, the Gray Team has been transforming veterans care through innovation, research, and cutting edge wellness programs, from opening a state of the art treatment facility to launching life changing initiatives like its Operation Phoenix. And in full disclosure, I wholeheartedly support the Gray Team, and I was just recently selected to be a member of their board of directors. We are joined now with Kerry Reichbach and also United States Army Master Sergeant retired Chad Nebergall. Gentlemen, how are you?
Wonderful. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. Doing
Hey,
great here.
cut the
Great.
sir stuff off, okay? I'm just Alan, okay? Let's just go with it. Kerry, talk to us about you starting this incredible organization and a little bit about your military background.
Sure. We started Gray Team really as something like a stopgap that nobody seemed to be addressing the root causes of suicide. We were all aware of the numbers, and everybody was ready to jump down on the floor and do 22 push-ups. But actually, that doesn't do anything to prevent suicide. So we delve really, really deep into it, the root causes of suicide. And it typically comes down to pain. It's physical pain, it's mental pain, emotional, spiritual pain, what have you. But if we can eliminate those pain points, we can really put a dent in those numbers and even stop it entirely. So that was the impetus that drove us to create these robust wellness programs that we have today at Gray Team, where we can actually fix, not just mask things that typically is how things have been handled in the past. Is we're gonna use antipsychotics, antidepressants, anti-anxiety pills. We're gonna mask the symptoms and hope somehow that things get better, but they don't. And that's the cold, hard truth, is they just push things into the future until at some point you just can't handle it anymore. And suicide seems like, a very final solution to end that pain. And what we've been able to do is really remarkable. We're able to address all of those issues with a custom program and create something that has never been done before. And our record speaks for itself. We've run a little over 900 through our program since the inception in 2016, and we've never lost one to suicide.
That's incredible. And just talk to us. How did you come up with that name, the Gray Team or Gray Team?
That's an interesting question. It evolved in two ways. One of them was uh, we have kind of an informal thing in the military where the top tier warriors, um, they're called the gray teams informally because you never see their faces. They suffer in silence. They get their medals awarded in private. Um, they're just kind of in the periphery, but we don't ever actually make their sacrifices public. And so we really like that connotation. And the second reason was right after the global war on terror started, and we were very much made aware of post-traumatic stress. Nobody really knew what the causes were and how to deal with it. And they didn't understand yet that it was an inflammatory response. So the Pentagon put a group of like into a think tank of brainy individuals, PhDs, neuroscientists, and they called them the Gray Team because they dealt with gray matter. And unfortunately, after I believe 2.5 years, they were disbanded with no findings whatsoever and no conclusions. But the fact that the Pentagon kind of endorsed this whole idea of the Gray Team, we like that too, and we kind of combined that along with the Aramaic symbol for rising, elevation, and air. And that was where the Gray Team name and logo came from.
Pretty awesome. Hey, Chad, you recently shared your story at the Gray Team, They're Not Bulletproof Gala in Boca Raton, where the Gray Team is headquartered. Kind of give us an understanding of your incredible military career. I mean, you're frontline infantryman, and what brought you to the Gray Team, and how have they helped you in restoring yourself to be that warrior that you wanted to be, that your family needs you to be, and that God intended you to be?
Yeah, absolutely, sir. So first and foremost, I want to say I don't think I thanked you enough for your kind words before I took that stage that day. I don't know if you
I
recall it,
do.
but I definitely will not forget it, and I thank you for that.
My
You gave me the courage to go
my
up there.
pleasure.
So, um, yeah. So as you said, I was an infantryman my whole life. My 20 years in the infantry. Been all over the world, multiple deployments, led elite units, like I said, and been in some really tough positions, but never wavered on who I was or my confidence in myself. Got to the latter part of my career and retired in 2023. Decided to take about a year off, and I just kind of lost myself. I didn't know who I was anymore. I fell into a deep depression. um, I continued to try to strive and find what am I going to do next and find that purpose. I started to volunteer at different locations, but I never found anything that kind of really got me feeling like I wanted to be a part of something again. And I fell into a really dark place. And I think that a lot of transitioning veterans, whether they did 20 years or 5 years or 10 years, find themselves in a position where they say, what's next? And there's a lot of us that don't ever find that answer. And that's the problem. Luckily for me, I hit my lowest at a point where I did have a weapon in my hand. And the next day, it was God's calling, because months in advance, my wife had set this up. But the next day after I had that weapon in my hand, I got a call from the Gray Team. And like I said, it was fate. It was God. It was divine intervention. And came in here, didn't know what to expect, didn't even know what it was. And it just gave me a sense of I've got to be somewhere. I've got something to do. I've got something bigger than myself that I've got to commit to. And they made me really, really understand that nobody's going to take care of you better than you. And if you got to get yourself right before you can get anybody else right around you. And the way that they approach that is remarkable here. It's not about kicking your butt in the gym. It is. You're going to get your butt kicked in the gym a little bit, but it is more so about the recovery process. And like Carrie was saying, all the tools that we have here to be able to recover, whether that be the IR therapy light beds or the red light saunas, or I just got done doing a 2-week cold plunge trial. They've got the cryo chambers. They've got the BIMI beds. They've got so many options here. So I will spend 30, 40 minutes working out, get a nice sweat, maybe 45 minutes, but then I'll spend 2 hours of going through recovery. And what it's done for me personally is really re-energized my life, the way I look at things, the way I talk to my family, the way that I conduct myself on a day-to-day basis. And to really realize, like, you have to put yourself first. You have to get yourself right. You have to get your mind right before you can get anybody else right. And that's what I've taken away from this. I'm still going through the program. I still struggle. We all still struggle. I don't think that there's going to be a time where I'm completely 100% cured of everything that I've gone through in my life. But I know that there's a better way to approach it than what I have in the past. And I attribute that to these guys here.
It's a remarkable thing, and if you want to know Chad's full story, you can go and see his speech at the most recent Great Team Gala. But Carrie, when you get that phone call, and I think that it's very unique in that you don't have that cutter approach at the Great Team. You don't say, "Here's your bag of pills," come back, 2 or 3 weeks later. How do you model? How do you shape these innovative practices and programs to each individual veteran, male or female, that comes to you? Tell us a little bit more about the programs without divulging any proprietary information.
Sure. The whole thing starts with an application online where we require certain information. And in Chad's case, that was put in by his wife kind of without his knowledge, which, she was aware of his struggles, and in looking for solutions, she came across Great Team and went ahead and had him apply, without him even knowing about it. So we get to start with the records, we get the DD-214s, we get all the list of issues that they have ahead of time, and we can begin to formulate a profile of who this individual is and what's bothering them. And then the next step is we're going to bring them in for an interview. And at that point, we're going to make sure that A, they can commit to the time required, and B, that they have the resources mentally and physically to be able to get through the program. And when I say that, I mean specifically, if they're heavily involved with alcoholism or illicit drug use, or a 4-pack a day smoker, we've got to take care of those things before we even can admit them, because we can't detoxify them if they're continuously putting toxins back into themselves. So we're going to qualify them, and maybe it's not the right time for them right now. Maybe they need to go through some kind of other treatment before they come here, because this will be the solution that's going to take them over the top. And we need to make sure that we give them every opportunity to be successful in our program. So we make sure that all those underlying factors are complete, and then we create a custom program that is actually attuned to their individual needs. One of the needs that every single veteran that comes through the door is camaraderie. And it's something that's often overlooked, but you yourself, Alan, we experience something that most people will never understand, and that is, the ability to care and love another human being and put their needs ahead of your own. And we do that without thinking in the military. We're team builders, and we take care of each other before we take care of ourselves. It goes totally against that whole oxygen mask principle that you hear about every time you get on a commercial airliner. Put your own mask on before you take care of the person next to you. But we don't do that. We take care of the person next to us first, and we let our own health and wellness just deteriorate to such an extent that we don't even realize in what bad shape that we're in. So that's kind of where what Chad was touching on just now, is that we have to make you realize that you need this, and to ask for help is not a weak thing. And again, that's something that goes against all of our military training. We never need help. There's never anything wrong with us. We're supermen. We can go through a combat situation and the next day we're just right as rain. We lost individuals in our squad and our platoon, but we're not even going to think about that. We're just going to go out and do our job again and again and again, because we're almost robotic. And we have to completely undo that at Great Team. We have to teach you that you are important. And not only you, but your family is counting on you. Your friends are counting on you. There's a ripple effect. When we elevate your health and wellness, we're elevating you, your family, and the whole community
Absolutely.
around you. And I think that is so, so important, and it's often overlooked.
Yeah, that's
Well
one of the
said.
great things, is that this is not just focusing on the vet, but you oftentimes you see the spouse, male or female, in there being a part of this, because they are a part of that team in that recovery. Chad, let me ask you this: what in your process there at Great Team, what has it made it so unique and different that you see from other programs that may be out there?
Well, sir, Alan, I'm sorry. I can't get over
You
that.
can do
But
push-ups later.
thank you, thank you. Well, I got to be honest with you. So let me backtrack a little bit before Great Team and tell you kind of what I was going through in trying to better myself, and then it will probably help you understand why this was so much different. VA, obviously, pain management clinics galore. I refuse to take any medications from there, though, so I was never on anything like that. But I found that anything, whether it be rehab or pain management or anything at the VA, or whether they sent me off, it just was not doing anything for me. And it felt like it was a chore. And it felt like the people at the place didn't really care. I was a number. You coming through, get your stuff, get out of here. So at that point, I decided, let me try some other stuff. And on my own dime, I went and did, I'm not sure if you're familiar with EMDR, but it's hard to explain. You've got these two things in your hand, and it's supposed to kind of take your subconscious mind and rewrite it to kind of erase some of the traumatic events that you've been through. So I paid a couple $1,000s to do EMDR out of my own pocket. At that point, I had been able to deal with some of the combat stress that I had, but I still could not figure out a purpose in life and what my next thing was going to be. So I went to hypnosis, and I did hypnosis for 3 or 4 different occasions, trying to figure that out of my own dime as well. And it just was nothing was working. When I came here, immediately it was like I was walking into a new fire team or a new squad or a new platoon, and the guys were welcoming and the girls were welcoming, and they started showing me around all this stuff, and everyone's veterans, and I was able to speak freely. I was able to, I didn't have to watch what I was saying like I would in the normal world. I think you can be familiar with that at some point, right? So, and it just felt warming and welcoming, and they really, really wanted to help. I could tell. I sat where I'm at right now, and I spoke with Carrie and Trish and John and G and David, and We were in just a little group huddle, and everybody was invested in me. Everyone cared about what was going to happen. Everybody wanted to put the plan together. And when I came in, originally, it was a chore because I don't live close to here. I'm about an hour drive from here. So it's an hour here and an hour back each time. But I told myself I have to make that commitment to myself. And every time I got here, I just felt more and more a part of the team, more and more welcomed. And then eventually my body started feeling really good. I used to wake up every morning, I'd have to stretch or roll. My back was tight, my shoulders would hurt. I would be dreadful to get out of bed. But since I've started the program here, I'm up early. I'm not sleeping in. I'm out. I'm walking. I'm being active, and then I can't wait to come down here, get my workouts in, and do my recovery. It's become a part of my day. It's become a part of my routine. So
I think one of the things that veterans need, I mean, you take this well-oiled machine, and then all of a sudden it's going from 0 to 80 to 90, and now you're taking it back to 0. I think that's what hurts a lot of our veterans. And like you just said, Chad, we know our task and purpose every day. And when all of a sudden we don't have that task and purpose, that what and that why is, I think it was Mark Twain said the two most important days in your life, the day that you were born and the day you find out why. When we forget that second most important date, that's when we start to have those problems. Kerry, let me come to you. Great team's been out there now for almost a decade. You're getting close to a decade, correct? Thereabout.
Yeah, we're coming up close to our 10-year anniversary.
So, leadership is about vision. What's your 5-year vision? Where do you think Great Team goes now? And you're located there in South Florida in Boca Raton. How do you make this grow into a national program?
That's a great
Well,
question, and
I
something
try to
that
come up with great questions. You're a pretty smart guy, man. I'm not.
that's what I've heard. I haven't witnessed it yet, but I'm
oh,
looking forward to it. No, in all seriousness, it's something that we take very seriously. Is how do we put a bigger dent in this suicide epidemic? I mean, we know we have the tools and resources and the know-how to make it work. But how do we expand the program? Is it something geographically where we need to build other facilities? Part of our incredible success is the team itself. We've assembled a team of people who really, really care, and all the technology in the world isn't going to do anything if the people who are running that technology don't care. They treat you like a number. The VA has
VA.
unlimited budget, right?
Right.
They could afford all the technologies that we have and more. Why they don't acquire them is a mystery to me. But more importantly, how do they instill the type of emotional caring that we do? I mean, obviously, we're all military veterans, so we understand brotherhood and sisterhood. But it's more than that. It's we really truly want to make a difference, and so to expand the program, we need to find other individuals who are as loving and caring as we are, and maybe that is just building a much higher visibility and larger facility in Boca Raton, and it's a centralized, that can actually support a great deal more individuals than we're doing now. Or maybe it's moving into other cities, and we're considering both avenues. It comes down to a lot of it is
Mhm.
finance. We don't at this moment get any state, federal, or local monies. So we're based solely on donations, both corporate and foundational, and even private individuals. And we don't charge anything for our services ever. No service member ever gets a bill for anything. So that business model is really counting on, some type of huge financial resources in order to expand to the levels that we would really need. in order to grow exponentially across the entire United States. And certainly the federal government and the states have those resources. But that's a legislative thing that you probably know more about than we do.
Well, I think that right now I'm calling out Governor Ron DeSantis there, the governor of Florida. I think you should come down and visit the Great Team facility there, Governor, and get them a line item in your budget there. And also, I think that Doug Collins, a guy that I know who is the head of the VA, he needs to come down and visit you as well. And out of that immense budget that they have at the VA, maybe what? Let's say 10, 15 million. We cut it over to you guys down there at the Great Team and help you to build an incredible and impeccable campus to take care of our veterans. Chad, I'm going to come to you for the last little tidbit. What's the best endorsement you could say right now to a veteran that's struggling and needs help?
We are all strong-minded, strong-willed individuals that have served in the military. And a lot of times, like Carrie was saying, we do not take care of ourselves. We worry about everybody around us. That, or we are too proud to ask for help. We are too embarrassed to ask for help, especially when you've been in, strong leadership positions as I have, or many of the military members that are getting out have been. It is hard. It is very difficult to look yourself in the mirror and say that you're not the man that you used to be when you are. It's just your mind taking control over you. And I would say this to anybody that's out there struggling in silence. I struggled in silence for about a year. And I'm sitting here, you probably can't see my hands, but I'm very nervous talking about this. It takes a lot of courage to stand up and say, I need help, especially from a military member that's led a very accomplished career. Many of you out there. Please don't become another number. Don't become another statistic, because the residual effects, the ripple effects, and everything, the second and third orders of effects are all on your family. And I've seen it firsthand with the members that I've called out: Rodney Frankenstein, Chad Brand. These guys, I'm very close to them, and I've seen what it's done to their families. And for anybody that's struggling, you are worth it. You are not alone. You are not alone. You are not alone. You are not alone. There are thousands of you going through this right now. Have the courage to stand up for yourself. Have the courage to stand up for your family and do something to help yourself out, whether that be the VA or anything that's around you, the crisis hotline, anything that you can do to retake control of your life, be the man or woman that you once were and can be again, and take the step that you need to take to better yourself, because it is so much better when you get on the other side of that and you realize that this is just the next step in your life. And it's a great step. And there's great people around you. And there's so many people out there that want to help you that you don't even know about. You think you're alone. You think you're in a dark place. There are so many people out there that want to help you. And I've realized that. So take the help, make the call, walk in somewhere, call a friend, do whatever you need to do. Just taking your own life is never going to be worth it, ever.
Carrie, how can people follow the Gray Team? How can people support the Gray Team? Give us your website and maybe tell us about a couple of events that you have coming up.
Absolutely. So anyone who's interested, we would much rather have you reach out to us way before you're in crisis. There is always time before, as Chad is saying, you don't have to be in crisis to come to us. We would much rather have you way before. If you're ready to call that hotline, things have gone too far. So So even if when you're starting to feel lost or you're just starting to feel overwhelmed by that transition process, or even if you're still in the military, or we want you to reach out to us immediately. They can go to www.greyteam.org. And the first thing you see is apply for services. So very, very simple, easy process to go through. Anyone who wants to support, there's also buttons on there to volunteer, to contribute either your time or financially. And then, of course, we have our 2 famous galas every year. The next one coming up is at Mar-a-Lago on December 11th, which is always an amazing time to be in President Trump's house and to be around like-minded people who are all so patriotic and supportive of the great American military. And then again on April 11th, we have a second gala, the They Are Not Bulletproof Gala in Boca Raton. And that'll be in 2026. And all are welcome to attend. It's always a fantastic time. If you reach out to any of our social media channels, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, you will see compilation videos of all of our galas, and you have to experience them.
Oh, yeah.
It's great when you're there, but you can get a pretty good taste for it if you look at the videos online.
Well, thank you so very much, Carrie and Chad. And to my brother and sister veterans out there, understand that a veteran is a victor. A veteran is not a victim. And Great Team exists to make sure that you always understand that you are a victor and that you are greater and you can overcome and you are more than a conqueror, as it says in the Bible. So, Carrie Rockback, Chad Neighborgall, thank you so very much. And folks, you can come by and you can visit the Great Team at their location down in Boca Raton. I would advise you to take a peek and see some of the incredible things that they're doing, and especially some of the incredible equipment that they have. Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Steadfast and Loyal podcast. And remember, as always, to be steadfast and loyal, especially to those who are willing to lay down their lives for you. God bless.
Before they burn it down.